Hello and welcome, Exiles, to the guide for Sanctum, the best money printer early on because raw currency is king and Sanctum is the king of raw currency early. Now let's get into it. Afflictions, bad for you. Boons, good for you. Yellow boon, purple affliction. Major boons, most of them are bad. Do not take trades for these generally. If you can get all seeing eye, go for it. Most of the other ones aren't that great. There's a few decent ones like Trap Disable, but don't think about it too hard. Major boons might say major on them, but generally most of them are worse than a lot of the minor boons. As for minor boons, damage is king. The dagger, the less damage vial, or if you're playing energy blade, 50% more defense is also 50% more damage. Outside of those boons, the scrying crystal, which allows you to see an additional room, this is very good for searching for divines. So I would prioritize damage, scrying crystal, and then after that, things like max resolve, things like plus inspiration, things like get an inspiration after every floor. That stuff is good too, but prioritize damage, then prioritize seeing rooms. If your character already has a ridiculous amount of damage, then scrying crystal becomes a better option. But if you need the damage to make it a little bit easier to guarantee the success, prioritize that. Now, afflictions, these vary in difficulty and danger, but number one, worst affliction you can get is golden smoke. If you see this, you are going to break your ability to find divines. You're in Sanctum to make money. This is the worst affliction in my opinion. Outside of that, other bad afflictions are things that limit your vision more, like black smoke, which makes you see one fewer room. It's a much harder to find divine rooms when you do that. Or things that just make it so you fail a run. For example, blunt sword here. This is supposed to say 40% less damage, I think. This might not be updated, or there was a new patch notes that changed this. I don't know. But things that might make you break the run. Blunt sword, very bad. The fiendish wings that makes enemies not able to be frozen, makes them have a bunch more speed. You're going to get hit a lot more. Things like monsters do resolve weakness. This might not seem dangerous, but it's basically just you lose 50% more resolve from getting hit by enemies. It's actually quite impactful. So, play around how weak or strong your character is and have some level of idea of what afflictions are going to do in terms of your loot. Other notable things I should mention are liquid cowardice. You could play around this by taking off your flasks. The lose 5% current room resolve might sound very bad. It's going to chip you down, but you can always click fountains throughout the run, which make this not so bad. Or you can just trade a lot of your resolve for inspiration, in which case this ends up not being too big of a deal. Anyways, the point is, read over the afflictions, get a good idea of what they mean in terms of how much they're going to affect your run. For example, if you have a lot of damage, then an affliction like monsters having more life or blunt sword where you deal less damage might not matter as much. But if you don't have enough damage and it's really hard to kill those guards, then you really want to avoid those afflictions because it's going to make it so you lose the run because you're going to get hit a lot more if you can't kill the guards fast. Outside of that, a few notable ones I should mention. Major afflictions might not be as bad as you might think. For example, Ghastly Scythe, losing resolve ends your Sanctum run. If you have inspiration and you take inspiration damage, that will not proc Ghastly Scythe. This is one of the easier ones to do if you have a nice little threshold of inspiration above you. A lot of times on the Handshake, Accursed Pact agreements, they will offer you a major affliction for a lot of upside. Look over the affliction. If it's a major affliction like this and you have inspiration, you might be able to just take that as a free option. Other good examples are like the unassuming brick. If you're closer to the end of the run, you already got all your boons, and this thing says, hey, you can't gain any more boons, but it's going to take off some really bad affliction that's bricking your run, might be a good trade. Cut Purse, cannot gain Aureus coins. By the time you're later in the run, this might not be a big deal because you've already bought your boons, you have some currency, and you'll be able to buy rewards. I should note here, you can screw yourself with this. Say you have a floor tax or door tax, say you have a door tax affliction, and you click this node and you're already at low Aureus coins, what could end up happening is you could soft lock your ability to buy rewards because say you just spent all of your Aureus coins, you had 10 coins, you're going into the next room, you have this on you, and it will brick your ability to buy the next reward, because every single reward where you're buying for the end costs 5 coins. It's relatively low cost, but if you forget about something like this, can brick it. So keep that in mind. All right, that's the boons and afflictions. Let's get into a run. This is a level 70 Sanctum. I have my level 68. Well, okay, technically my character's level 76, but I have 8 less passes. This is simulating the League Star character, and I'm going to just walk you through choice by choice I make when I'm choosing these areas. Worn Sandals, this feels very bad, makes it hard to dodge things, you're gonna get hit more. Generally, I don't like this one. Red Smoke, this isn't that bad if you know you can succeed no matter what run you do, but take that with a grain of salt. If you're on the edge of completing a Sanctum, this could be the difference in you failing and succeeding, because desecrated chambers are very dangerous on floor 4. Chamber of Inscription, Concealed Volatile Anomaly. Volatile Anomaly is annoying, but I mostly can do this run relatively easy. Now, looking at the rewards ahead of me, I don't really care too much about the Fountain at this point, because I have basically no resolve loss. So I'm going to go for the coins. You build up coins early so you can buy boons later, and that is going to make it easier for you overall when doing the run, if that makes sense. We'll go ahead and curse these dudes, and we'll go over here. I will say this is something where if you play Sanctum, you will start to learn the room layouts. The guards are always in the same locations, and the boons, or sorry, the treasure chests in the side areas and the traps, they're always in the same locations. You'll learn it pretty fast. Every single floor has, I think, 4 types of rooms. They have a trap room, they have a sprint to the end room, they have a fight kind of 5 guards throughout an area room, and they have a battleground room which has traps, and you have to go through a series of like 7 guards to complete it. Those rooms are typically the hardest. The trap rooms is hit and miss. Some of them are easy. The sprint to the room, to the end of the room ones are the easiest, and then the basic 5 guards throughout an area are the in-between ones. All right. From here, I notice I have Chambers of Inscription. Those are the type of runs. The room I just did, where it's just a basic room. I want to get more coins, so I'm going to go to another Chamber of Inscription. So this is the one where they have 4 guards throughout the rooms. These aren't as hard as the fighting guards in a trap area, because you have less you have to dodge, which makes it typically a little bit easier. Hopefully that guard died. I think he did, but we'll find out. And I could go around and click up extra coins throughout doing this run, but I'm relatively confident this character is going to cakewalk this Sanctum, so I'm not going to super try hard picking up extra coins. Now, I want to show you basically what I believe to be one of your go-to rooms you always want to prioritize. Accursed Pact rooms, so I'm going to start going over there through this Chambers of Inscription. Accursed Pact rooms, they always offer you 3 trade deals, and usually they are quite good in terms of you can get yourself some additional benefits that make the runs much easier, as well as they always offer you a random reward, which means Accursed Pact rooms could give you Chaos Orbs, they could give you Fusings, they could give you Divines, and I would say generally I'd prioritize them over any loot that is Chaos or below when you're in floor 3 and beyond. If you have Chaos on floor 1 or 2, then maybe prioritize that, especially if it's early league. Now I'm going to go straight for the Accursed Pact here. Let's see what kind of offer they give us. Generally, it'll offer some sort of trade, like a downside versus an upside. And a lot of times, depending on what those trades are. Oh, also, this is a trap room. Trap room is basically you can sprint to the end. You don't have to fight the guards. Whereas some of the other rooms, you do have to fight the guards, and there's issues there. Now, right out the gate, we have what I would like to say is the absolute best early trade you can do, and this is trading 1 max resolve for a bunch of inspiration. This specifically is very good early, because what it means is you can go to future Accursed Pacts, and one of the things Accursed Pacts usually like to do is they like to say, hey, you could give up 50% of your max resolve in order to get a benefit. Now, when you have 1 max resolve, that is a 0 downside situation. So I'm actually going to take this right out the gate, specifically so that way, when I get to more Accursed Pacts, I can just trade for a bunch of free afflictions. If you see this early, usually it means it's going to be a good run. So I'm going to prioritize doing another Accursed Pact. I'm giving the monsters 50% more damage. My character is relatively squishy. This is a bit of a dangerous play to do. And what that means is throughout the run, I might want to target getting the boon that makes guards or enemies throughout the run deal 40% less damage, I think is what it is. Typically, that might be a safe play. Now, I opened up that chest and then I dodged out, but I realized I don't really care too much about getting too many coins. Now, you'll see right here, it says lose 50% max resolve, gain 2 minor afflictions. This is a very good upside. I'm going to click this just because it's very valuable. Now, you might say, okay, you have 3 minor boons here, and I have this thing where it says lose a minor boon for lose a minor affliction. This is one key thing I want to point out, is I really like Gilded Liar. That was the boon before I clicked gain 2 minor boons. Something you need to note is when you get offered these options, the result is pre-decided. So if I click lose right here, it would delete my Gilded Liar. It would delete that, and in return, it would delete, well, I guess I think I had all these 3 afflictions before. It would delete one of these randomly. So keep that in mind when you're choosing these. It might be kind of clear whether or not it's a risk or not a risk. So for example, say I didn't have a good boon and I had some bad afflictions, and the boon I had before I got these 2 boons, say I got 2 really good boons after having a bad boon, I know I could take that lose option without losing the good boon. So I'll demonstrate that real quick here with the lose minor for minor. It's going to take away my Gilded Liar and leave the other 2. Now that's not a good way to do the run. I'm making the run harder by doing this, and I traded it out for an affliction that I don't even know what the affliction was. Volatile Anomaly, I guess that's kind of annoying. Sure, it's an upside, but it's not a particularly good one. Now, next up, Mark of Terror versus Purple Smoke. Purple Smoke means afflictions in the future could be very, very bad for me. This is a heavy risk taking early versus Mark of Terror. This thing makes enemies are going to impact my resolve at 50% higher. Very dangerous, but I feel pretty comfortable for the most part. I don't think I'm going to get hit very much throughout this run, and I'd rather avoid getting an affliction that would completely and entirely brick my run like Golden Smoke would in terms of making currency. So I'll take the risk of being a little bit harder, a little bit more likely to fail, versus the risk of just outright having a bad time and not actually making currency. A lot of times Purple Smoke becomes less and less risks the farther you get into your run, but you need to like kind of have some, I don't know, thought process on how you assess the risk in terms of how far you are into your Sanctum run. Hopefully we're doing okay here. Nothing will go bad. If you're playing my League starter, which is Penance Brand of Dissipation, there's supposed to be a 3rd guy. Okay, I was like, where did this dude go? If you're playing my League starter, which is Penance Brand Dissipation, do what I'm doing. Put down your 2 Penance Brands on your enemy, and then just hop around. Just hop around. It's not too complicated. Go in a circle. Afflicted Fountain, basically never click this unless you're at the very end of the run and you desperately need resolve. It's just usually not worth it. All right, and then this boss, we're going to employ the strategy we do for every other enemy in the game, which is we put down our Penance Brand, we put on our Assassin's Mark, and we just kind of run around. And this is going to be the case for most bosses you're going to run into. Oh my word, no wonder. Okay, something that just occurred to me when I was doing those, like the last 2 rooms, I was like, my damage feels bad. This is something that you should be a little bit aware of. I had turned off my energy blade and I didn't realize it. I was kind of wondering where my damage went. That's where it went. I accidentally turned off energy blade. I don't know at what point I did it. Now, the reason I have energy blade on my keybind is because specifically at the final boss, there's a wave phase that's a little bit dangerous. And in order to play around the wave phase, I like to turn off my energy blade because it makes our ES higher, makes us a bit tankier. So that way, if we misplay it a bit, we can take a hit or 2 more than we would be able to otherwise. Now, next up, we have Voodoo Doll, Merchant Prices, Gargoyle. Gargoyle is relatively easy. If I want to do it for the Chaos, that's what I do. 100% more resolve loss while at 50% resolve or lower. This is kind of free because my character has 1 resolve, but outside of, if you don't have 1 resolve, then this is actually quite dangerous. I think I'll probably go with the Chaos Orbs here just because I'm trying to get loot. We're trying to make currency. Early League, currency is king. And every little Chaos is another upgrade we can make on our character, which is going to help us snowball into doing better and better at Sanctum. So that's my general advice. If you're choosing between 2 relatively non-bad afflictions, prioritize the money, because every single piece of currency you get will make it easier for you to complete more and more runs. Next up, we have an Accursed Pact versus a Merchant. Both of these are going to be good upgrades for my character. I'm going to go for the Accursed Pact specifically because I have 1 resolve, and because I have 1 resolve, that means everything is just super high value in Accursed Pacts because I get to take those trades that allow me to trade max resolve for inspiration, and it just feels really, really good in that regard. Make sure I don't get hit by anything. Now, right now, I'm with my 68 character. I would have already leveled once or even twice. In your first Sanctum, you get a lot of XP, and I would have prioritized the +2 brand node, which allows me to have 2 brands per each enemy. Usually during Sanctum, you fight about 2 guards per time. So if you're doing a brand build, having the ability to cast at least 4 brands is typically ideal. Now, looking at this, I have a choice to make here. I could go for this Accursed Pack, which is what I was planning to do, but you'll notice it only has one way for me to go, and that's into Monster Life. Versus up here, I can get another Accursed Pack, but I don't take on the Affliction. So when you're trying to make a choice like this, Monster Life, pretty bad. You don't really want that. You don't want to make the monsters tankier. You want to kill them fast, and you want to keep on moving. This run is the Trap Room. Now, I would advise you do what I do on this room, which is sprint. Sprint. Every single time you get to this room, which was called the... I forget what the room... I'm whatever. For whatever reason, I'm spacing on what the room's called. But, Gauntlet. Gauntlet is always a room where you can sprint just like that, and then you don't really have to think about it. If you don't sprint just like that, the fire traps are a bit harder to navigate, and you could take some resolve damage. So keep that in mind when you get to this room. I recommend just sprinting through. It works out typically really well. This guard is always like a time waste guard because he constantly just takes off the brand you put on him. Refuses to die. Kill every other guard before I kill this guard just because just keeps teleporting, keeps taking out the brand, and it can be a bit annoying. All right, now as you'll see here, gold trophy, lose 25% resolve. I only have one resolve, so this is a free. Remove Mellifluous Chorus versus remove arrowheads. I do not want to remove this. This thing, when you have inspiration, basically allows you to take twice as much damage towards your resolve or towards your inspiration. Very good if you have inspiration currently in your run. Outside of that, I have a gain random for a gain random. Never take this. The risk is too high unless you're really trying to push loot and you're just saying, okay, I'm having a good run go. Even if I have a bad affliction, I can probably still win the run. And it's just your only decent option. Like the other options are just terrible. That's the scenario where you take the minor for a minor. But generally, I would say avoid it because you can get some really bad afflictions that could just wreck your run, and you don't want to do that. Fiendish Wings, very bad affliction, makes the guards faster. You're going to get hit a lot more, get a lot more chip damage. I'm going to avoid that one. Since I have that choice versus Rusted Coin's also decently bad, but I'd rather have Rusted Coin and just keep greeting boons through Cursed Packs and maybe just not worry about the merchant for this run because we got that earlier boon. It's a little bit harder of a choice if you don't have a good source of afflictions, but ultimately, I would recommend just avoiding things like Fiendish Wings because you will take chip damage throughout the run, and chip damage throughout a run is how you end up failing. It's just personal advice I would give to you in that regard. Okay, I forgot a guard or a rare. Every single, this is the zone that is a, kill 5 guards. You need to kill like each rare and each guard in the room before you can do the door. It's not a sprint to the exit room, it's the more normal one, and that room was called Derelict Caverns. Gauntlet is the trap room where you can sprint to the end, and Decrepit Cellar is the actual sprint to the end room where you just have to go to each 4 corners. I don't know if I described that earlier. Gauntlet, Radiant Fountain. Radiant Fountain, these are like a high priority, especially if you want to make your runner easier. Target them, they give you 200 inspiration, a free boon, and they remove an affliction. If you're having a hard run, go for these. The only thing you would choose over Radiant Fountain is basically like a really good loot option if you're trying to push loot and you already have some good rewards. So I'm going to go for the Derelict Caverns, which is another room where we have to kill the rares and the guards in each room. And so I'm going to do that now. There's sometimes a rare down there, sometimes there's not. You always want to check there, otherwise you have to run back through the whole room, and that can feel kind of annoying, I would say. This guy, have I killed everybody? No, there's a rare somewhere probably that I missed. There's probably a rare. These rares are really annoying on this zone specifically because they like to jump up late after you've already like cleared everything. I just don't know where it is. Okay, now the stairs are available. I guess there was some rare I didn't see. I don't really know at what point, but anyways, moving on. Radiant Fountain, what type of room is it? It is a gauntlet. So I'm going to showcase this again. Gauntlet rooms look like this. You spawn downwards with a wall right above you. What you want to do is you want to sprint. So you want to do Frost Blink, Leap Slam, Frost Blink, basically. You want to do something like that where you're getting out as fast as possible. And I messed up there. I wasn't quite as fast. I did the wrong order of things. But the idea is, at most, you're getting hit by one of those fireballs if you do it correctly, or 0, in which case you get through the room very fast. So we got 200 free inspiration from Radiant Fountain. That should make this run very easily. And on top of that, it removed one of the afflictions I have, so that's one less reason I'm taking damage. Now, removed Resolve Mitigation. Our character doesn't really have armor, so Resolve Mitigation isn't beneficial. but it is what it is. Now, as for this group, this room, this is the boss floor fight 2. This one is a little bit different. This guy, I think, is a little bit harder to dodge attacks. I always prioritize killing him first. Whichever one you kill, the other one will go back to full HP and get like an extra attack or two or extra mechanics. Basically, what I recommend is prioritizing this guy because I think he's a little bit harder to dodge. Kill him first, and then later on, target this dude. He's going to do a orb if he gets to it. Okay, he didn't get to it because he didn't have enough attacks. He'll do a thing where he raises a blood orb. Basically, just run around until he drops the orb behind you. That's probably his most dangerous attack, and it leaves a degen pool on the floor, and you just need to not stand in that. Okay, so that is floor 2. I think the only room I didn't showcase there was the... I haven't gotten to showcase any of the rooms where it's just your fight. Well, I did trap guard battleground rooms on floor 1, but I don't think I found one on floor 2. Floor 2 is... Those rooms aren't too bad. Floor 3, those rooms aren't too bad. Floor 4 has the bad rooms for desecrated crypts, and those are the ones you want to be probably avoiding more. Now we have Blunt Sword, very bad for damage. I'm going to avoid that. Empty Trove, not really ideal. Voodoo Doll, I have 1 inspiration. This is free. On other runs, this is something I would probably avoid more, but since we already have that 1 resolve, I'm going to go ahead and take it. This is a trap guard room on floor 3. Relatively easy. Most of these rooms, I would recommend just going in a circle and don't get hit like I did just there. But yeah, just go in a circle, place your brands. That's all you really need to do. Don't overthink it. That's the case for 90% of the rooms in Sanctum is just go in circle, put your brand on enemy, go in circle. That's all you gotta do. Don't overthink it. Just leap slam, go in circle, and eventually all the guards will be dead. So you see they're dead. Circle strategy remains supreme. Like everything in PoE, it's always worth. Okay, remove Gargoyle, remove increase resolve recovery. Since I have 1 resolve, this is an irrelevant boon, and this thing's a little bit annoying because sometimes my penance brand is put on a Gargoyle instead of the guard. 25% resolve loss. This boon is not beneficial to me at all, but I want to take it anyways, and the reason is, the more random boons you stack up, the more likely it is the next boon you're going to get is going to be one of the good ones. Do not take this unless you are just trying to push loot and it's the only option because the other options are really bad. Scour Orbs would have probably been a bit more valuable at this point, but oh well. Exalted Orb versus Bless Orbs. Early on, I think Exalted Orb's probably worth more, so I'm going to prioritize that. This could be a Divine. Floor 3 can start dropping Divines, but there aren't any available that yet. This is the floor type where they put random 5 guards throughout the room and sometimes some rares. The rares can be anywhere from 0 to like 5 rares I've seen on rooms like these. The rares are typically the most difficult part of these if you get some bad ones, but regardless, these rooms should be relatively easy. Those guys should be dead, and I'm going to go over here and hopefully finish these dudes off without too much issues. All right, we are actually collecting a lot of coins from our gold trophy. The next time I buy a boon, I think I lose gold trophy, so if the merchant is good, I might do it. Now, Halls of Worship, we just did, okay, we just did Unholy Lair. Infernum is the fight, the guard fight room in floor 3. Unholy Lair is the fight through 5 guards plus a rare to open the door at the end. Unholy, or Halls of Worship is this is the easy room, you can just sprint to the end, and Crucible is the trap room. I'm going to show both of these. Crucible and Halls of Worship are both pretty easy on floor 3, and I will showcase that. As for the sprint to the end room, it's basically always you need to check 4 corners. That's how sprint to the end rooms work. It's the way it works in the first floor, the second floor, third floor, and the 4th floor. Halls of Worship, I like to go up the stairs first and down this hallway and check the first corner, and then you just make a rotation until you find basically the exit. The exit can be in any one of these 3 locations. It is just randomized, and you just need to check all 3. Sometimes you'll get it on the first floor or the first corner. Sometimes it'll be the last corner. It just kind of varies. All right, Exalt Orb acquired. I don't really care about doing the merchant, but I care about this Curse Pact. A Curse Pact is always more loot and a chance for rolling a divine, and I always want to go to those. A Curse Pacts are probably priority rooms most of the time, especially on floor 3 and 4, but on early floors, coin rooms and merchants can be quite ideal because they could set you up with getting you a good boon throughout the run, etc. All right, so we got here, she only has 1 option. It is more gold coins found. I'm just going to ignore that. I have 2,000 coins from the gold trophy that's been stacking up. We are going to keep going. Handshake room, hopefully we get some divines, and it is an infernum, which means we need to just simply Walk in a circle. Just go in a circle. That's all there is to it. Just go in a circle. I should say, specifically about these laser traps, you'll see them in multiple different rooms, and you're gonna grow to hate them, but they're not quite as hard to dodge as you might think. The point these things do resolve damage is only at the very tip of the laser. So for example, if the laser is extended out in front of you, you can jump through the laser if it's at any point but the very tip where it's hitting the ground. This will be much more relevant in Desecrated Crypts, which is probably the hardest trap room to learn, because it has 4 laser rooms at very awkward positions and much harder to dodge through. But there's a lot of scenarios where you can go through a side area and you'll be fine. All right, a bunch of more free trades where I get to trade resolve for benefits. Up here, if I was really having a rough run and I was about to lose to resolve loss, I would consider this trade, because this is a very dangerous affliction. But considering the run is going pretty well, I'm not really losing to resolve. I'm not in danger. I do not want to take the risk of getting golden smoke and then breaking my ability to find loot throughout the run. So I'm going to not take the trade. 3 Val Orbs, not too shabby. We take those. A Curse Pact, I am probably going to go for. Golden Smoke, very bad. Floor taxes, it's whatever. We have a lot of boons at this point from random boons we've gotten throughout doing trades. I am going to take the Traps Impact 200% Resolve. This could brick my run, because traps can be very dangerous on floor 4, but I am an addict for loot, and I'm going to take the risk. There is a scenario where I lose to that just because the Desecrated Crypts is very hard to do to avoid trap damage, and there are a decently amount of trap rooms on floor 4 that can be semi-problematic. But I'm going to take the risk because I make bad decisions on a regular basis, and that's just what it be sometimes. Okay, there is a rare we forgot, or this guy I guess I didn't kill. All right. Now we have a free boon for clicking in a fountain. I'm going to buy that because I have a bunch of coins and it could have been something good. Golden Smoke bricks my ability to find loot. If you click that, you basically already lost the run because it's going to kill your ability to find divines. Just avoid that at all costs, unless it's at the very, very end and you already know what the rooms are in front of you. The Golden Smoke will change your ability to see what's in the room, but it doesn't change what was there. So for example, if you knew a room had a divine and the room before it had golden smoke, that's a scenario where you would take golden smoke. You say, I'm gonna risk it for losing loot in the future to guarantee this run has a divine. That's a trade that's worth taking, where you take golden smoke. It's not gonna change the loot that's in this run. Lose 200 resolve for 100 inspiration. I cannot click this. 50% less resolve lost in boss rooms versus 100% more resolve lost in non-boss rooms. This is actually very problematic, especially since I clicked 200% trap damage done to me. This is a scenario where both these options are bad. I can't click this one. I can't accept it because I have no resolve to give. It won't kill you, even though I only have, but it just says you can't do it. This one, I think, would make me lose the run. If I click this plus 200% traps impact damage, I could just die to traps very easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I'm going to gamble on the random affliction because these other two I can't do or are just way too risky. And hopefully we just don't get a bad affliction. We will see what happens, but sometimes you just got to take the risk because I want loot and I think it's worth the risk. Merchant offers for your choices. That is fine. It could have been a much worse affliction. It wasn't. Usually you'll get by scot-free. So that's why I think it's worth taking the risk to get a chance at divine, but only take that risk on floor 3 or 4 where you can actually drop a divine. I wouldn't do that risk on floor 1 or 2 because you can't get divines on floor 1 or 2. Chaos orbs are king. Chaos orbs are king. Give me loot. All right. Now we're going into the floor number 4, the final and hardest floor because it has some of the hardest rooms. Desecrated Crypts, Entombment, Desecrated Crypts. So these are all semi-bad rooms. Desecrated Crypts is the worst. This is the one where you have to fight guards, dodge lasers. It's a lot more problematic and a lot more dangerous. Entombed is the trap room. I'm going to do Desecrated Crypts because I want chaos. Or do I? You know what? Now that I think about it, I would rather go a Curse Pact. And this is something that I'm going to say over and over again. A Curse Pact, it's better to take the chance at getting a divine over taking the guaranteed chaos in my opinion, because there's a likelihood you could get chaos from Entombment anyways. And so I have the choice between guaranteed, I think it's like 4 chaos or whatever it is, versus could be 2 divines. I'm going to take the risk because that upside is just too big in my opinion. And even if I low roll, I don't get chaos, I might get Val Orbs or something else that's valuable. This room, the traps start late. If you're fast enough, you can go straight away. Now, this second part over here, the way I like to do this part is I wait for Fireball to not be coming, and then I jump over, and I Frost Blink to the side. Next up, there's going to be a guard over here. We can just kill him to make it more safely, or you can sprint by this guy if you are an absolute gamer. But I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to proc this trap, and now what you do is you wait here for these fireballs to be separated, for there not to be one following this one. So if you don't see an animation, you can go ahead and you have enough time to jump over here, jump over here, jump over here, and you've avoided the trap rooms for this Entombment floor, and you haven't gotten hit. I might have got hit by something though, because I'm at 380 inspiration, and I thought I used to be at 400. I wasn't paying attention too closely. Okay, Unholy Urn. I could get a Curse Pact up there versus Fiendish Wings. I'd rather just have the Unholy Urn, so that's what I'm going to go for, and then we'll work our way through the next rooms. Unholy Urn is bad if you have good relics, good if you don't have, not a big deal if you don't have good relics, that sort of thing. This thing is basically a scenario where you can just take it slow, or if you're used to the patterns, you can take it a little bit faster. They're always on a delay, and then there's one guard over here. Technically, you can like really sprint through this if you know the pattern very well, but I'm just kind of going slow just to showcase. All right, remove this for removing resolve loss. I really like this, especially when I'm playing a squishy character. This character, we're kind of on the edge of survival. It's very early gearing. I like Fright Mask early. Later on, it won't matter as you gear the character up, but early on, it's a nice thing to have. Gain a minor for a minor. I don't really want to do that. And I have gain Rusted Chimes for gain random minor. Rusted Chimes is a decent random minor boon. I would rather take the chance at getting a dagger or more defense or scrying crystal. All of those would be better in my opinion. I don't like this option. This option's okay-ish, but I'd gamble on a better boon. I want to check whatever loot is there, so I'm going to risk the minor affliction. Just don't do it on the earlier floor. Traps, impact, reduce resolve. That helps a lot because it helps mitigate that earlier affliction I got. Enemies ignore your resolve mitigation. That is not bad for me. I will take Divine Vessels. Divine Vessels on day 1 are like 5C. Divine Vessels on day 5 are 0C. So always keep track or have an idea of what is worth stuff and what isn't worth stuff. Now, ideally here, if I was trying to win the run, I would go for Entombment specifically because it gives me a boon here, but I want to showcase a different room. So I'm going to showcase Undercroft, which is the run to the corner room. Lost Catacombs is the fight 5 guards and 2 rares, and then the door opens. Undercroft is the 4 corner room, so I'm going to showcase this one. Just to give you an idea of what the room looks like. I always just sprint directly to each corner, check them, and if they're not there, I move on. And I would recommend doing the same if you're doing 4 corner rooms. It's not really beneficial to fight the guards. You just have a chance to get hit while doing it. And not fighting the guards, you just are going to get through the run quicker, and faster runs, faster getting to loot. Desecrated Crypts. Fantastic. This is the worst room, or the most difficult room to learn, in my opinion. 4 quad lasers positioned at very awkward points that will shoot inward towards you. I am going to do the thing I told you earlier, which is I want to avoid the tip of the laser, and I can jump through the beam. So while I'm doing this run, if you see me jump through the laser, you might notice I don't take damage. The little tip of the beam, it has a bit of an AoE, so sometimes if I'm too close to it, I will get hit by it, but that's what I'm going to be doing in this floor here, or trying to showcase. Like, I extend this thing over, and then I jump out through the laser, and it works fine. A lot of times you'll practice luring these beams over, like, points where you aren't, and then you can jump through the laser at the, I don't know, where it's extended or whatever, if that makes sense. Okay, we took some beam hits there. It did a lot of resolve damage. We need to be a little bit more careful because we were taking a lot of resolve damage. We are suffering from that affliction where we took extra trap damage, but I was cocky and told myself I wasn't going to lose. And for the most part, we only took 8 resolve damage. It's probably going to be fine. Do I have a boon for gaining boons when I click a fountain? No. So we're not going to do anything there. We're going to keep moving. All right, Lost Catacombs, Lost Catacombs. This is basically just choosing between which room gives you more loot. and they both are going to lead to 3 rooms. So I'm going to go here, get the choice at chaos or chaos, and we'll see what it gives us. This is the basic room that has 5 unique guards. We're just going to go through and kill them, and then move on with our lives. Sometimes there's rare, sometimes there's not. This area has 3 of these dudes. Just practice the age-old principle of go in circle, don't get hit, and that's all there is to it. Part of the reason that I recommend Penance Brand, hopefully, is very apparent at this point, and it's because I don't have to stand still. I can keep moving the entire time, and I won't lose the run. All right. Looks like the best chaos reward is here, so I'm going to go topside, which means we have to go through another desecrated crypts. So we'll showcase another one of those, and then a undercraft. This run was a bit unlucky. We didn't get divines. I would say usually, loot-wise, in Sanctum, if you're playing it correctly, if you're searching out scrying crystal, if you're taking a bit of risk and making sure to always keep your vision of possible future rooms as a large amount of them, you should get... I need to be a little bit careful. Getting a little bit in danger. Alright, we're fine. Only lost 4 resolve. Anyways, as I was saying, if you're always being a bit smart about where you're picking your rooms, it's like, for example, I didn't do great on this. This topside route would have had more vision on more rooms throughout the run, which potentially gives you more chances at divines. But going scrying crystal, you can open up a lot of that vision. I think Sanctum runs, 1 in every 2 run, you'll get a divine. Usually, if you don't get a divine, you're going to end up with anywhere from 30 to 50 chaos and some other miscellaneous currencies, scours, etc. Especially that number goes up when you start doing the later floors, like in terms of like level. Like right now, I'm doing a pretty low level Sanctum example here, but eventually you'll start doing Sanctums that have, 83 Sanctums where the last chaos reward is 14 C instead of 6 chaos. All right, level 73 zone. We were fighting Lycia. How do I always play this fight? It's pretty much always the same way. I stand a little bit to the left of her over here. I preload my banners. She's going to dash towards me, and I am going to go in the corner, get Assassin's Mark on it. She's going to dash again. She's going to start doing her laser thing. Okay, that is not usual. Normally, he starts doing Maven's Gaze there, and you just duck behind the wall. Her doing that extra dash animation ended up being, like, fine. Because Maven's Laser is the main thing, or Maven's Gaze, whatever she calls it. Betat's Gaze, I think? I don't know. Laser thing, kind of hard to dodge in that first area. It's easier when she's in this zone. Don't go in the corner. But anyways, you just kind of stand behind her. You can rotate around her when she's doing that. That's the most dangerous thing. The idea is if she's in that corner shooting the laser, you can just duck behind the wall and not get hit by it. She did a weird dash, which is not normally a mechanic she does. It is what it is. Now I'm going to showcase the fight. I'll put the brands down, and then we just go to jumping around. This beam she's doing does a little bit of chaos damage. There are very few things in Sanctum that do chaos damage, but that's one of them. Also, those swipey blades do chaos damage. I'm going to turn off my energy blade here. You'll notice I went from 3k to 5k ES. The reason is, if I do this fight incorrectly, if I play it poorly, that extra 2k ES could be the difference of me failing or not failing. And that's why I have a weapon that is a weapon I can leap slam instead of like a wand as my energy blade, for example. But I recommend being on the bottom side. I think it's easier to see the waves. And then put the brands on her and just jump around. As I was saying, we have 70 chaos res on this character. There are chaos attacks. They shouldn't one-shot us for the most part. That beam is close to one-shotting us, depending on what boons you have. If you have the 40% less, that's the difference in it probably one-shotting versus not. Go in a circle on the beam, and as for the swipey blades, try not to get hit by those because they do deal a bit of chaos damage. Ooh. All right. Hopefully this was a good showcase of Sanctum. We got, I don't know, 20-something chaos. I think I had about 40 chaos before. We got an Exalt. Got some extra fusings. I should have cleared out the loot in this guy's inventory before we started the run, but I forgot to. That was honestly a really low value Sanctum. Like, that is like min-rolling on value, and it's probably because, I don't know, throughout the run I might have made some mistakes. Not 100% sure. Sometimes you just get bad RNG. For the most part, though, I'd say at least every run you're getting about a divine plus some chaos. Usually every other run you're seeing a divine, and the raw chaos ends up being worth quite a lot. Because early league, divines are 40C, 50C, 60C, 70C, etc. And on top of that, early league, certain unique relics that Lycia drops balance a terror. Balance terrors are very valuable early on if you can do some early runs with that. There is the value in being able to get the Sandstorm Vicious Relic or some of the other unique relics. I think Sandstorm Vicious Relic, they're making rares, and that might be a higher level relic now. We're not sure. Anyways, that was the Sanctum run showcase, giving you a walkthrough of how to do Sanctum, thought process of how to do picking your afflictions and boons, hopefully giving a good demonstration of what you're supposed to, or what the gameplay should look like. Anyways, thank you for watching, Exiles. Hope you enjoyed. Take care and peace out.